Today is our feast of Our Lady of Knock, so I will be heading there after I do this video this morning, but I just wanted to kind of draw people's attention to the fact that Akita is back in the spotlight in the Catholic world in a very serious way. I encourage Catholics, do your own research on the phenomenon in Akita. And this year, Cardinal Fernandez released a very interesting document on the discernment of Marian apparitions and these phenomena. And during his press conference, he kind of explained what was going on previous to this document, that bishops were going to Rome. They were getting guidance from Rome on whether to approve or not approve certain messages and apparitions. And Rome was saying to them, yes, you can approve it, but don't mention that you've spoken to us. I really do ask people to dig out that press conference that Cardinal Fernandez gave, because he kind of explains what was going on in the church prior to this year's document. Now, after that, after this year, you can bishops will be able to ask Rome for help, and Rome will give their guidance, and it will be known what Rome thinks on these things. But there's no doubt to the fact that Bishop Ito went to Rome and met with Cardinal Ratzinger at the time in 1988 and did ask for guidance and was given, clearance to issue his approval for the messages of Akita, for the shrine, for the whole thing that happened there. So, I see people trying to play down Akita, saying it's not approved, it's an unapproved apparition, and so on and so forth. Well, if today, if a bishop went to Rome with the same dossier and met with Cardinal Fernandez with the same dossier, would Cardinal Fernandez unapprove it, not approve it? I don't know. But as I said, this is what happened in the late 1980s. And Cardinal Fernandez said as much, that, Rome was giving guidance, was giving approval, but bishops weren't allowed to use that when they were giving their own approvals to this phenomenon. Akita is such a massive reality in the church, because it's not just the word of a nun, the nun getting a message, and she's not any old nun. People forget that this nun, Sister Agnes, was paralyzed for 10 years. She had an operation when she was young. She was paralyzed. She was cured by water from Lourdes, and after that she converted to Catholicism, became a nun in an order, the Sisters of that were, I'm going to make sure that I'm getting this right, the Sisters of the Eucharist. Apologies, I'm nearly sure I have that right, and this was the early 1970s when, what are we doing in the church with the Eucharist? What did we end up doing with the Eucharist in the West, especially? What did we end up doing with faith education? What did we end up doing with the bread of the angels, with the holy sacrifice of the Mass? Need I say more? And we have a statue that wept 101 times, actual tears that were analysed, tears that they have independent scientific reports on the tears that came from that statue, which was all in the dossier that the bishop brought to Rome. Now, unless the sisters in that convent were doing a very elaborate fraud, collecting tears and put them on a statue so that it would look like there was weeping. I mean, it's the convent, if you go there in Japan, and I've seen others that have, it's a very quiet place. It's not like you have millions and millions of people visiting the statue. It's a very very quiet shrine, but the message is very, very clear. It's very, very stark. And we see it played out in the church today. It's very, very similar to Garabandal. We see it being played out in the church today. I mean, Garabandal, those messages were given to young girls in a time when Spain was extremely Catholic. After a civil war, we knew so many Catholic martyrs. And to say that what Our Lady was saying in that message about clergy, well, those girls were never going to win themselves any favours with any bishop or priest. What you're saying about us, we don't like this message, that we're going to do that? No, we're perfect. What you're saying, why are you saying this message? And of course, it never got approved by the church. And yet, did it happen? Has it played out? Has it played out? Well, we look around at Spain, we look around at Europe, we look what we've done to the faith. And now we look at Akita. I mean, it is Akita, the message, the phenomenon, the timing, Sister Agnes's death, Sister Agnes's life. It's all there. It's all there. It's all been played out. It's all been proven true. I mean, and anybody with an ounce of a heart can see that our Blessed Mother is very sad at what we have done in the church. And why wouldn't she? Why wouldn't she? There's one thing people might forget when it comes to Akita regarding the 101 times that Our Lady cried. Sister Agnes received in prayer from our guardian angel. But why 101 times? Well, it goes back to Genesis 3:15. I'll just bring it up here. I'm sure everybody knows this, but just a little bit of education on Genesis 3:15, and it'll be very familiar now. Let me bring it in here. I will cause hostility between you and the woman, and between her offspring and your offspring. Between your offspring and her offspring, he will strike your head, and you will strike his heel. Then said the woman, I will sharpen the pain of your pregnancy. Said to the woman, I will sharpen the pain of pregnancy, and in pain you will give birth, and you will desire to control your husband, but he will rule over you. So Genesis 3:15. Mary is the new Eve. Mary is the new Eve, and Christ is the new Adam. And with Mary, with Christ and with Mary, we see we see the whole act of redemption, and Mary as co-redemptrix. So and really, if you meditate on Akita, it's really about that dogma that will be pronounced someday by the church as that our Blessed Mother is co-redemptrix. And like it's an incredible message. But anybody looking at a woman crying, I don't know if you ever seen your mother cry, or if people see mother cry, it kind of subdues everything. If you ever see somebody crying, the mood, it's a very subdued mood, and people fall silent, or they pat them, or they console them, or they help them. Here we have our Blessed Mother crying. Why was she crying? What were we doing in the church? Ripping out altars, ripping out altar rails, clown liturgies, destroying seminary formation. We look at the book that Pope Benedict published just before he died, that last book, and he was talking about seminaries showing seminarians porn. And look where we are in the church. Look where we are in the church. Why are so few normal men attracted to the priesthood when we've destroyed the character of the priest? Priests. The world has been expert at destroying the figure of the priest. And it is. Look at the last 50 years. No wonder our Blessed Mother is crying, but she is real. She isn't this invented character from 2000 years ago. She is real. She is living. And this time of August, when we start with the Transfiguration and we're ending with the Queenship of Mary, and we have knock, between the 6th of August and the 21st of August, 22nd of August, you have this whole theophany, this God appearing to us, really. You start in the 6th, you have the Transfiguration. Now we have the Assumption of our Blessed Mother. We have then on the 22nd the Queenship of Mary, and the 21st in the evening we have the apparition at Knock. And who appears in Knock? What appears in Knock? The Lamb of God. Cross. St. John, St. Joseph, our Blessed Mother. We have St. John the Baptist coming to prepare the way. It's on the gable wall of St. John the Baptist Church in Knock. I don't think heaven could be any clearer to us. I don't think heaven could be any clearer to the church. And if we are so hardened of heart that we will not look at a woman, our mother, crying, God forgive us. That's all I say. If the church is so hardened of heart that it will not look at our Blessed Mother, who is actually crying actual tears in a convent, in a community in Japan, God help us. And again, the Vatican has the dossier on that phenomenon. The Vatican has all of the investigation that the bishop did on that statue that was crying. Look where we are. Look at where we are in the church. We're selling our churches so that they can become mosques. It's not just the odd church. The very places that we consecrated to consecrate the body, blood, soul and divinity of our Lord, we're turning into mosques. In the Netherlands, in America now, or Buddhist temples. That's the truth. We don't even respect our own faith. We don't teach it. In our Catholic schools, we don't teach the Catholic faith anymore. We can't put kids through these schools. They've told me, they've come in, Daddy, look what they're teaching us. And we know the 5 pillars of Islam. And I said, oh, that's great. The 5 pillars of Islam. I have nothing averse to understanding other religions. But where is the Catholic faith being taught? No mass, no sacraments, no prayer. Our kids go to a school that has a chapel that they have a gym class in now sometimes. I kid you not. We have destroyed the faith. We have utterly destroyed the faith, especially in the West. And we have the message of Akita. The message of Akita is very stark. And it's not a coincidence that Sister Agnes died on the 15th of August. It's a message. It's a message for the whole church. And if the church is so blind that they won't look at the tears, the actual tears of our Blessed Mother, because on some of these apparitions, yes, there's a lot of discernment that's needed. People are looking at Medjugorje and the messages, and you're looking for discernment, and is it true, and are they frauds, these visionaries? There's a lot of discussion going on the messages of certain apparitions. With Akita, you had a statue with a wound in her hand. Our Blessed Mother had a wound on her hand. The wound on the hand, on the right hand, is the hand that the priest uses to give out the Eucharist. Why was the wound in that hand? And Sister Agnes had a wound in her left hand. The wound that the hand that people were using back in the early 70s to receive communion. And her hand was so painful, she had to revert back to receiving communion on the tongue. because she physically couldn't receive it on the hand because of the wound that she had been given. That's not a coincidence, because we were destroying reverence for the Eucharist. And nothing good came from in the Roman Rite for destroying reverence for our Lord and Eucharist. Nothing good. And the way we treat the Eucharist is the way we treat our sacramental life. Confession died off. The numbers died off. Churches started closing. Seminaries entering, seminaries closing. Religious dwindling. You know, if a priest did a video like I'm doing now, you know, calling out the confusion in the church, his bishop or superior would probably cancel, phone up and say, don't be creating ructions, don't be doing videos like that. You're causing confusion on the faithful. We don't like this. Like, if you think about it, this is what happens. Priests tell me, oh, well, if I was to say these types of things, you know, bishop wouldn't be happy, the superior wouldn't be happy. Yeah, go figure. Keep your head down. This is what has been happening in the church. Keep your head down. Don't be talking about these things. Our Lady cried 101 times. You know, she stood with our Lord at the cross at Calvary and cried as she watched her suffer, offer up his body and all of his blood for our redemption. You know, the son she gave birth to, the son she carried, the light of the world. Yeah. If the church wants to ignore the tears of the Blessed Virgin, go ahead. But look at what is happening. You know, I ask Catholics, do your own research, especially laity. Do your own research on the messages. Garabandal, Akita, Fatima. Do your own research. Open your eyes and look at the eyes of the Blessed Virgin crying tears in Akita. To see the actual tears of our Blessed Mother being cried because of, you know, and it's all there, it's in the messages. What do we see played out in the church today? The very pastors, the very leaders that are supposed to lead, that are called to lead, are asleep at the wheel. You know, bishops around Europe. What? There is no diocese. There is no diocese in Europe that has. If you were to metric the dioceses in Europe on healthiness, there's no diocese in green. They're all dying, all across Europe. If it wasn't for some faith communities, some movements, neo-catechumenal, the traditional movement, Lefebvre, Opus Dei, and the various groups, where would we be? You know, they came down on Bishop Dominic Ray in France because there was too much happening in this diocese. He was allowing things to be founded. He was ordaining stuff, and there was, stuff wasn't going. You know, he made some mistakes. Let's not say he didn't make mistakes. He absolutely did. But he was doing something. I mean, there was a love for the faith. There was love for the church. He was encouraging traditional groups. He was encouraging charismatic. And yet, you know, because it can't have that in the church. Can't have that. The only person that doesn't make mistakes, the only bishops that don't make mistakes are the bishops that do nothing. Nothing. Administrators of the decline of their diocese. We see it in France. We see it in Spain. We see it in Italy. Across Europe. Germany, Netherlands, Belgium. Look what happened in, look, UK, Ireland. The ministers of the decline of the church. And we look at Africa, where they have a tiny amount of the resources that European bishops have. A tiny amount. And with so little, they're able to do so much. There's faith there. Where are the martyrs in the church in the last 50 years? You know, there's so much faith there. And yet when they come asking us for help in the church, you know, they get poo-pooed down. No, you can't. We're sorry, we can't do this. We can't do that. You know, it's very... People have no idea what it takes for a seminarian to get ordained in Africa. It just doesn't come all landed to them like in Europe. Like in Europe, if a man wants to be a priest, you know, he'd get a lot of support from the church, help from the church. You know, it's a lot easier. It's a cushy process. In Africa, believe me, it's not. It's, you know, these men are tried a lot, and you know, it's a lot harder. Places like Uganda. Anyway, I went on too long with this, and I'm sorry I went off on a tangent, but I do ask people, you know, on Akita, there is no doubt on the authenticity of Akita. It is a message from heaven. It is the message that Mary is the co-redemptrix. You know, she is the new Eve. And she plays an important role, and she's an important role in the church. You go back to Don Bosco's vision of the Eucharist, and on one pillar and Mary on the other pillar, and the Pope steering the ship. You know, Mary has an incredible role in the church. And when a mother cries tears, sometimes there's no argument or no discussion you can give to a problem other than cry. You know, if you're ever seeing it in a discussion or in an argument, and people are arguing, or there's confusion there, and then somebody starts crying, it kind of puts a dampener. It just silences everything. Because there's really no discussion you can have with somebody that's crying. And our Blessed Mother is crying for a reason. She cried for a reason. And if the church is so... I mean, we look today in the church how we treat the Eucharist, how we treat the body, blood, soul, how we treat preparing people for the Mass, how we treat the sacrifice of the Mass. And then we're scratching, oh, well, where are all the young people? Here in Ireland, you know, 60 people will go to a couple of days of a concert. 60-something thousand people, young people mostly, go to a concert. You know, we try to organise a Catholic event for that same age group in Ireland. You would struggle to get 6,000 people. You would struggle to get 3,000 people. Even if you offered to them free, you wouldn't get 3,000 young people at a Catholic event in Ireland. It wouldn't happen. I guarantee you, you'd have parents pushing people. You'd have them, you know, cajoling them and advertising and this and that. I know. Because we don't believe. We don't put God first in our lives. Akita is a prophetic message for our time. A prophetic message. One of the most clear prophetic messages. I don't know how our Blessed Mother could not be clearer to the church on the Eucharist, on how we treat the Eucharist, and how we prepare ourselves for the Eucharist. You know, Sister Agnes had to be catechized to become a Catholic. And I don't know what else to say unless it'll be too late sometime. Will it be too late that we'll actually realize what we're doing? Bishops and priests have one task, is to be leaders in the faith. And over the last number of years, they have abnegated their responsibilities to lead us, to teach us. It's the truth. They have abnegated their responsibilities to teach the faithful the faith. There was a bishop in Bilbao the other day, and he gave in a homily, he objected to this whole phenomenon of, because I want to change my sex, I can change my sex. And he was accused of transphobia and so on and so forth. How many bishops will just shut up? Oh no, I'm not getting involved in that. I want to be popular. I want to be this. I don't want to be in the media. And we have this wave of secularism that's destroying the church because we won't teach the faith. Akita is a prophetic message for our time. It's not just the messages. It's our Blessed Mother crying. It's the community. It's the person that received the messages. You have to look at all of the elements of what happened in Akita. The life of Sister Agnes. Her whole life. The location. On the same parallel as Fatima. So Akita, if you take out a map and look at the parallel of where Akita and Fatima are, they are exactly the same. On a map. They're both on the west coasts of both countries. There are so many similarities that God doesn't just do these things for no reason. These are messages. These are prophetic messages, prophetic warnings. What parent doesn't warn their kids? What parent doesn't warn your kids? If you do this, then this, and this, and this will happen. We're supposed to be the light of the world, and we're turning off the light of the faith in the church. We're turning it off in the world. And what do we have? This tsunami of secularism. What do we see played out in the world? A tsunami of atheism, secularism. And what's it giving the world? Money? Money, power, sex, drugs. Will these make you happy? Careers? I don't know how clear I can be on this. And so many other commentators will give you so much more on Akita. But I just want to focus on the fact she cried 101 times. The new Eve, the co-redemptrix, the work of redemption could not have been accomplished without Our Lady's fiat. God does not do violence on our will. But the church has to get back to preaching the faith. Anyway, God bless you. Take care. Bye-bye.